It is just an amazing book to have a look at. One of my favorite chapters is the Lucifer Rebellion, which...
Is it in a form of being more like a novel, or is it more kind of a fact literature mixed in with a little bit of what should we call it, like spiritual, material, or how is it laid out?
Well, let me just give you this. This is the Lucifer Rebellion, paper number 53. Lucifer was a brilliant primary Lanonendek, son of Nebadon. He had experienced service in many systems, had been a high counselor of his group, and was distinguished from wisdom, sagacity, and efficiency. Lucifer was number 37 of his order. Well, that's kind of curious in connection with OTO. Anyway, and when commissioned by the Melchizedeks, he was designated as one of 100 most able and brilliant personalities in more than 700,000 of his kind. From such a magnificent beginning, through evil and error, he embraced sin and now is numbered as one of 3 system sovereigns in Nebadon. So what they are is explaining how our solar system galactic empire is occurring and who's in charge of what region. And Earth is actually called Urantia, and that's why the book is the Urantia book. So it actually gives you an outline history of all of the different... It gets into the Lyra system. It gets in, and remember that this was written in 1955. It gets into the Melchizedeks, and when you realize that Jesus was of the order of the Melchizedek, you'll find that in your Bible, and you begin to wonder, well, what was this Melchizedek thing, And we find that, of course, Melchizedek was one of the ones that lived forever as well, right up there with Enoch and others.
So what do you think about authorship? On the Wiki thread right now, they claim William S. Sadler and his wife, Lena, being behind it. Thoughts?
If a person is behind this, they are one of the most intelligent people to ever exist on planet Earth in 1955. This is so well thought out, so connected. It's not disjointed in any way. That explains a universe outside of our universe, coming from God and into the different types of dimensions, and then finally into our dimension, breakdown of different solar systems and what they are doing. And it's an amazing work. So if it was written by a person, they were one of the most amazing people on planet Earth at that time, and we should really have them in our, they should be winning the Kennedy Honors Awards, as opposed to some of the things that I've seen, it's too intense to be just somebody goofing around. And it's also believed and shown that this is on the desk of the CIA, it's on the desk of the NSA, it's in the UN, Vatican, all of that. So it's something much bigger, and is most likely the reason they called Blue Book, because that's what they just called the Urantia book, it's just the Blue Book, because that's what it was, a giant blue book. Perhaps people have been digging in. Perhaps some people say that it's such and such that did this. Read it and tell me that, a single person could have outlined this whole concept. Perhaps, someone on the level of Isaac Asimov, somebody on the level of, Lord of the Rings or, that type. Perhaps, but it's too well written. And so it remains an anomaly and a curiosity. So now we're starting to take in galactic politics. Now we're starting to think about, well, what if we are a member of a galactic society? What if Earth, way off here in the distant arm of the solar system, was a prison planet for these quote-unquote fallen ones? Well, we can clearly show through symbolic means that these fallen ones are in charge of the technological advancements on planet Earth. And when we start to see, you go back to the book of Enoch and you get to the examples of what the different angels, the fallen angels, were teaching humanity, such as putting on makeup and turning the women into prostitutes, creating warfare. It was unknown until the fallen ones had taught humanity. The use of metallurgy, the use of herbs, and all of the ancient mystic type of ritual magic also came from these beings. We couple that with the concept that this is written into our superheroes. And we find that one of the angels, the angel that taught us warfare, was Azrael. And In DC Comics, we have Batman in 2000 being replaced by a character known as Azrael. Now, this kind of gets into the whole spectrum of the mind pattern programming, the predictive programming, and that the universe is mental. And I really bring this mostly out to attention because Walt Disney just bought Marvel Comics for $4 billion.
Oh, my.
And we're finding that a lot of these stories have been told, and the engineering of society is brought through these cartoons and comic books. And, of course, Walt Disney is one that I keep my eye strongly on.
For good reason.
Yeah. They are nothing but a military-industrial complex. That's all Disney ever has been. You can go listen to all my shows on Walt Disney to get that backstory, because there's more important stuff going on right now. Let's jump ahead. Okay, we got a little sidetracked in the blue part, in the idea of the Urantia book. It's really something that you should read. But let's move on with this blue brain project. Okay, so we've got the idea that we can now transmit our souls via radio frequency waves to any star system in the sky. We're sending radio commercials and movies out into space. So using iSCAT, right? So then we take in the concept now of this mind transferring technology. Now, Henry Markram was saying in his Blue Brain project, in order to build a rat's brain, he needed to move some petabytes. Now, a petabyte is about 1,000 terabytes, so about 1 million megabytes, right? And that's a petabyte. And he said it would take 500 petabytes of information to clone neurons and create a simulated brain.
Yes.
And then he'd be able to, perhaps transmit consciousness into this. Well, the grid is the computer system that's attached with CERN. And the grid was announced when they launched CERN the first time. The second time, it didn't get so much airplay. But the grid was launched again with this new launching of CERN. And, of course, we've got the full launch coming up. When is that, February?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so the grid is the computer matrix that takes in all the data, compiles it, and spits it out. And the grid has to be a super mega computer. So it is going to be up to 200,000 interconnected computers using directed fiber optic lines. So if we remember that CERN is the one that brought us the World Wide Web and allowed us all to communicate as we are now. Well, now they're moving this to, massive scale. This is so beyond the internet. This is moving from petabytes, which, is necessary to create cloned minds inside the computer, to exabytes. And exabytes, that's 1 quintillion bytes. And so to get an idea of what an exabyte is, all of the printed material in the world would only take up 5 exabytes. So and that would be 5 billion gigabytes. So the grid that's attached to CERN now has reached that level. It's moving from petabytes to exabytes. And this now allows for this type of mind cloning technology, this creation of a brain inside of a supercomputer. At the same time, this is getting promoted more and more as Project X, or the X Prize, sponsored by Ray Kurzweil, is offering a financial bonus for those that can come up with a brain-computer interface. Jeez. So we're looking at this whole concept of perhaps, they are trying to transmit themselves off of this planet via radio frequency waves to some other bodies, E-bodies, or clones, because the Pravda story said that, right now we're up to transmitting into E-bodies, which also, goes back to Michael Jackson, but that we are also hoping that we would then be able to transmit ourselves into clones, which would be The Sixth Day by Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lucifer Pictures.
So one of the questions here is obviously the activities at CERN as well. The LHC, the Large Hadron Collider, it's been not working properly. It's that they're going to fire it up again in February, and the question there, of course, is, do they want to open a portal there? That has been discussed. Do they want to tap into other dimensions? But one reason as well that you're talking about here now then is that it's almost like that's a kind of a side project